This is People of the State of Michigan versus Virgil Henry, docket numbers 19-941FH and 20-514FH. And Mr. Henry, you're here today on allegations that you're in violation of probation. It is alleged in or on or about June 2nd of this year, you were unsuccessfully discharged from treatment at Burgess Psych. And in count 2, that on or about June 1 of this year, you failed to make 2 consecutive months of restitution payments. Have you received some notice of these allegations, Mr. Henry?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand the allegations against you?
Yes.
If they're proven true, it could subject you to a maximum penalty of up to 14 years in prison on your one prior conviction, up to 14 years in prison on the other. That's in the 2019 file, and then on the 2020 file, up to 4 years in prison. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented today by Mr. Austin, and you also have the right to a contested hearing, Mr. Henry, where you could appear by yourself or through your attorney. You could hear the evidence presented against you. You could cross-examine witnesses, and you could present your own evidence. And Mr. Austin, have you had a chance to speak with Mr. Henry, and can you tell me how we're proceeding?
I have spoken with Mr. Henry, Your Honor. It's my understanding that he will be admitting to the violations.
Is that right, Mr. Henry?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Henry, as I said, you have the right to a contested hearing. If you plead guilty, you won't have a contested hearing, and you'll give up the rights that go along with it. That includes the right to have the allegations proven, the right to have the witnesses against you appear at the hearing and to be able to cross-examine them, the right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the hearing, and also the right to testify yourself at the hearing if you wanted to. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone made any promises to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Anyone used any threats or other kinds of pressure?
No, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you believe you did violate probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so first tell me about the treatment that you were discharged from. What happened there?
I signed a no-miss agreement that I didn't get a chance to look over, and I still thought I had a 10-minute grace period, but I didn't, and I was a few minutes late signing in, and so I was discharged.
Okay, and then you were supposed to be making monthly payments towards your restitution. Did you do that exactly as you were supposed to?
Honestly, I thought I was doing the right thing. That's why I sent my attorney copies of all the payments I made, including the payments I just made yesterday. And I did miss, I know I missed 1 month, and I spoke to Miss Christie in collections, and she said it's okay. We spoke on June 2nd, actually, and she told me it was okay for me to make my payment when I got paid. And so that's what I had in mind, but my agent said, no, that was not supposed to be. And I'm like, well, I just spoke to her on the 2nd. But to make a long story short, yes, I did miss 2 payments in a row.
Okay. The court finds the plea is understandingly, voluntarily, and knowingly made. It is supported by the testimony. The plea of guilty is accepted. Mr. Henry is found guilty of probation violation. Agent Spears, our recommendation?
Your Honor. However, I became aware of another violation today and wanted to add a count 3.
Okay, well, no, because
I'm sorry, I didn't know how to raise my hand.
You just interrupt me, that's all.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Is there a recommendation?
There is, adding the totality of the 3 counts. My recommendation is the RAP program. I made this recommendation at the PSI level due to the fact that the probationer, the defendant, didn't really have any background in something that would help him be able to pay off this heavy debt he owes for restitution. When I made the RAP recommendation, I believe that he needs to look for other types of employment that can give him an actual chance of success on probation. The RAP program would also keep him away from what his sex offender therapy therapist believes is a high risk for re-offense, working alongside of the same teenagers that were also the victim of his previous sex offense. I've tried my best to get him to do some sort of factory type work in the past, and he said he wasn't interested. The high risk behavior that had recommended him to take SOT in the first place was what I thought would help him understand that being around these children would help him and give him an actual better chance for success. And I still stand by that. His several times that he missed classes that led to the no miss agreement is the same behavior that got him kicked out of KPEP when he was back on parole back in 2016. He was disruptive with his therapy groups at that time, and I'm reviewing his case notes from that time, and they unsuccessfully discharged him from that program. And that, for that reason, is the reason that I believe that he should take this class and complete it. However, the RAP program does not offer SOT, but I believe that it would give him a good chance to find other type of employment, and then when released could finish his requirement of sex offender therapy group. So my recommendation is the RAP program, continue probation, and also restart sex offender therapy group.
You know, Mr. Henry wrote me some letters, and he mentions wanting individual treatment, one-on-one. Is that an option?
That's what he was in. He had a group session and an individual session. It was the individual group sessions that were only once a month, but in addition to the group sessions, helped him with that. Carly Luce was his individual therapist and said for 3 consecutive months, he had so many problems failing to appear that she ended up finally just giving him 2 options of what she had available, and he never even responded to her. So the individual sessions are available to him and were available to him. I think Mr. Henry needs some individual CMH type mental health help in addition to help with his sex offense. And
Let's get
I agree. And the underlying problem, though, seems to be that the defendant seems to always want to be around this age group. And that's the only thing that I find to be very difficult to supervise him on.
I know, and I understand how MDOC looks at this, and you're not wrong to look at it that way, but understand this. Mr. Henry, to me, is on probation for a financial transaction device and for uttering and publishing. So I understand your concern, and I know his history, but, you know, that's where we're not exactly seeing eye to eye on what we should do here, so.
Can I make a comment about that?
Of course you can, of course you can.
And I understand your view of things as well. However, this behavior that led to this class was with a 16-year-old that he had brought over to his home to help him move. You know, the tip that came over the sex offender registry tip line was from him, saying that he felt like he was creepy and trying to lure him to his house. And it's the Department of Corrections requirement to investigate that. Not only did I investigate that, but also the Michigan State Police investigated it. They didn't charge him with anything because the 16-year-old boy decided that he understood what was going on, luckily, and decided not to go to his house. So there was no new offense to investigate for the Michigan State Police. But this happened on probation, Your Honor.
I know.
And
I applaud MDOC for, you know, their diligence and that they would be required to investigate such a thing. I'm required to force people to complete conditions of probation that are reasonably related to the offense that they've been convicted of. So I'll turn to you, Mr. Austin, and hear your comments.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Into the totality, what Mr. Henry is on probation for and the 2 violations that he has admitted to, I do think some kind of individualized counseling would be more appropriate, I believe, than what would be recommended with the RAP program. Mr. Henry is working, which is good. That's one of the things he's supposed to be doing on probation. And it's not as if he wasn't making any strides towards restitution. He missed a couple months. He made some payments before that. He's made some payments after that. He just made a payment, I believe, yesterday. So he is working and he is making strides toward that. And I think putting him in a residential setting like the RAP program, I think would be counterproductive to that. So I would ask the court, Your Honor, to take that into consideration and to continue Mr. Henry on probation and in such a way that he would be able to continue to work and continue to chip away at the restitution that he is owed. And if the court finds any type of counseling would be needed or beneficial for Mr. Henry, I think some outpatient would be better to accommodate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now your turn, Mr. Henry. Is there anything you wanted to say?
Your Honor, I spoke with Catholic Charities, and they offered to take me in to counsel me, but my agent said that they are not authorized by the state. I also, as you see in my letter, spoke to 4 other counseling agencies, and all of them are willing to assist me also. They just want to know more or less the outcome of this. And I also spoke to Miss Teresa Stokes, who is, I think, a co-chair, co-president over one of the counseling services, and she's a friend of my dad. And she offered to do one-on-one counseling with me also. As for the payments, I thought I was making the right decisions by paying it more than once a month. And then when I said, okay, well, I'll make the payment in June. When Miss Chrissy sent me an email saying that it takes almost 14 days to receive a payment by mail or money order, I changed it up and went ahead and just paid the money yesterday. And she said, okay, we'll pay at the end of the month the other 50 for this month because that's what we got set up. And I'm currently in a position to, as I told you, pay $200 every month from here on out because I'm working. I work 40 plus hours a week. They won't let me get over 90 hours every 2 weeks, but I'm right at it. Currently at 82 hours, and I'll go to work tonight and tomorrow, and that'll still put me more into overtime. And I said, hey, I'm in a position to do it. I'm trying. You know, I don't want to mess up on probation. I heard what my agent had to say. I'm a little disappointed that he didn't communicate more with me, dealing with his thoughts. And because I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. And all along, I wasn't doing the correct thing that was supposed to be done in the right order. So for that, I apologize, but I am trying.
Okay, well, this is the first violation, some 7 months plus into probation. And Mr. Henry, I'm going to continue you on probation. I want to address the issues that have been put before me. So we're going to say pay $200 a month towards your assessments, and you've indicated to me that you can do that. And I want you, it seems like you need some kind of counseling, and I want you to either engage in some of this one-on-one counseling that you're talking about. If you can find someone that's suitable, that it has the approval of your agent, then you'll go to one-on-one counseling. If you can't do that, then we're just going to refer you to CMH, and I need you to cooperate with either one of those things. So I've come a distance here to meet you and what your issues are and what you're talking about you're unhappy with. I read your letters, etc. You got to come a little distance to meet me, okay? So we want you in counseling. And all other terms and conditions of probation will continue to apply. Mr. Henry, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. It explains that more on a form that we will send to you. So I need you to step up, Mr. Henry, and do what you're supposed to do. The next time around, I won't be as forgiving if you're not doing exactly what it is that you suggested that you should do on probation. Okay, you got it.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Your Honor, if you don't mind.
Pardon me?
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Well, because my agent said he had another violation, and I didn't want it to come up in a day or two.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's I didn't want it to show up and say, okay, now you have another one.
He can still bring it, but I just was not going to add it after I went through the whole thing. What is the nature of it, Agent Spear?
It's a police contact with Warren PD and just failure to let me know about it, which just notifying the court is totally fine with me with that. And if I could make a comment, just so to be clear, the individual psych that he was talking about, he asked me about sex offender therapy group at Catholic Charities. And I told him that we only have one sanctioned by the MDOC, and that's Burgess Psych. I wasn't referring to mental health treatment. I would encourage that anytime.
Right. I'll just be happy with mental health treatment, and I think that that's a perfectly adequate way of proceeding.
So do I get rid of the SOT requirement though? Is that continued with the probation?
Yes.
Okay.